Hey there, y'all, and welcome to today's Daily Down and Dirty. My name is Fairlight. Welcome to Airy Fairy Tarot. All right, y'all, the message for today is it's time to bring your message to the world. Now, when the cards came out, the only one that I saw was this hermit, kind of reversed, but kind of at an angle. I take angles, it's kind of like astrology. I don't know. More in a reversal, but that was the only one I saw. But I knew a bunch of cards had come out. But when I looked at that hermit somewhat reversed, I heard it's time to bring your message to the world. Like you've been contemplating something, but then the rest of these cards came out and I'm like, you know what? This is such a complex reading almost that I'm glad I just have a message to start out with, because it looks like you either have been through a lot or are still going through a lot. It looks like you've been through a lot, maybe still are going through it. And hopefully this can give you some clarity and some guidance about how to move forward, where to put your focus. So let's all take a big drink of water, take a big deep breath, and we'll get started. So like I said, it's kind of at an angle. We have this hermit, and you see that it's a lady sitting in front of a fire. So she is contemplating, I always want to say, the light of your own consciousness. She's contemplating that light. Usually it's the star within the lantern, but there is something about the element of fire that conveys passion and inspiration and creativity and action that you might want to take. Also, what draws my eye is this owl up in the tree. I'm not usually drawn to this particular owl. I'm always drawn to owls, but this particular owl was speaking. So again, it kind of, and with this hermit reverse, I don't know, I get sort of a long dark night of the soul. I feel like whoever is receiving this reading today, you've definitely been taken into places within your own, inner landscape, your own psyche, to face your own shadows, face your fears, face your beliefs. And I think it's time to emerge, and that's that it's time to take your message to the world. For some reason, that was what I got from this. The World card did not come out, but dang, there are so many major arcanas in this reading, including this Hermit card, that I would say that you're definitely at a major destiny point. I'm feeling a major shift already with 2026. And looking at the astrology coming up in the next few days, like we're in it right now. I'm recording this January 5th, 2026. My birthday is in 2 days. We are seeing a major conjunction with the Sun, Venus, and Mars. Mercury is right there as we progress through the month. Venus is going to conjunct Pluto on the Capricorn new moon. Everything's going to be gathered around at the end degrees of Capricorn, beginning at degrees of Aquarius. And so we're ushering in this new energy, the age of Aquarius, brand new beginnings. And so that brings us back to why it's so important for you to clarify your message for the world. Who are you really? And are you ready to release yourself from serving an illusion that keeps you playing small? So with this Hermit reversed, we've got the Knight of Wands upright. And I love that he is flying towards this dragon on the mountain. Again, all this fire imagery, and the Knight of Wands is this fire energy as well. Again, creativity, inspiration, motivation, action, desire, passion, all of those things, really getting ideas, really getting the energy and the passion to move towards those ideas. And so part of your message for the world, and it makes sense, the Sun and Mars there with Venus. I've read what different astrologers have said about it because I always like different perspectives. I tend to romanticize things and look at it as like a Pollyanna thing whenever possible. But it is interesting to go into different takes. And I think it was the Astrology King kind of had a more dire look at these conjunctions, acknowledging how leaders are creating wars. If you're in the United States, not a good look for us, in my opinion. You know, maybe we don't need violence and greed to rule our decisions as, you know, as a nation, but that's my opinion on it. But whatever. Didn't even mean to go there, but I did, so whatever. So, you know, just looking at, but how can we look at the choices that others make outside of ourselves and apply it to our own inner cosmology? And, you know, what are we choosing? Are we choosing volatility? Are we choosing to make war within ourselves? Are we at war with ourselves? Are we choosing to make war with others, where we could be a little bit more diplomatic and maybe to question our motivations? So then moving on, we've got the devil crossing these other two energies. I'll just acknowledge that this devil brings a challenge, but the two energies it's crossing is this Two of Pentacles reversed and the Six of Wands upright. And, you know, if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you'll know that I really love earth and fire combined, because you take that passion, but then you focus it into the seeds that you want to plant. You take your passion and clarify what it is that you're committed to, and you invest your time and your energy into it. You discipline yourself to manifest and cultivate your passions and inspired ideas. So with this Two of Pentacles reversed and the Six of Wands upright, at first I was getting almost like a Six of Pentacles energy out of it, where the universe will show up for you. But it's funny how the universe will also put you into horrible, imbalanced situations and take you into that shadow. And it can feel like, you know, why have you forsaken me? But sometimes we need to face our deepest fears. And, you know, living in a capitalist society, a lot of our biggest fears are around survival and money and those types of things. And take us into that, to where we just have to surrender. And so I wonder, with this Two of Pentacles reversed, you know, where have you had to surrender your balance? Where have you had to surrender, you know, where you were juggling and maybe the plates fell and you just kind of have to let things fall where they may, and surrender. But in that, then we get these like surprise victories, and it's almost like we have to lose in order to surrender to the greater things that can come in. And a lot of times what we're surrendering is storylines, timelines. My own personal example, I've been working at a hippie shop for a long time, and I still do readings there. But the universe is guiding me to move away from that timeline more and more, and to create new directions where I can step into new versions of myself. And that's so scary. And then also my band and all the singing. And it's like, but how can I realize these new timelines if I'm not willing to break free from what feels like a safety net? And so it really does feel like a great amount of surrender, but the opportunity for victory is there. And so it is like trusting it. It feels like a very much a Fool energy. And we do have the Fool in this reading too. It's just in a different, you know, spread of cards over here. So again, it does kind of speak to what's been surrendered, the vulnerability that maybe has been forced upon you. And then on top of it is this Devil card. And as I was looking at this Devil card, what kept drawing my eye more and more than anything is this sack full of money and this dollar sign. And so the way this has been challenging this victory is kind of that, are you clinging to what feels like safety and security? Even if it's not giving you the same results that it used to, even if life is really pushing you to move into a new direction, are you trying to stay stuck? Or, you know, alternatively, again, using myself as an example, in this, you know, fear, like, you know, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to whatever? There have been moments when I just decided to compromise and I'll go deliver for Amazon, or I'll go do this job, or I'll go do that job. None of it has worked out for me. Sometimes life says, no, you have already committed yourself to a path. Now you just need to surrender and show up for what's being revealed. So, again, my story is unique to myself, but any way that you can apply that, in a story that keeps coming through over and over again is it's amazing how often I get people come to me wanting readings about, should I quit my corporate job and move in this new direction? And sometimes the new direction is a new type of job, or it's starting their own business altogether, or moving somewhere and just seeing what opportunities present. And so very much, it's so funny bringing in the outer, stage, the world stage, and choices that leaders are making and how that aligns to like staying in a corporate job or something like that. If you're into like Dolores Cannon or just a lot of people like that, Eckhart Tolle, all these different people that have talked about the new earth, and splitting of realities, or the splitting of the worlds. If you feel called to go towards the new world, if you feel called to go towards a new life, I know it's scary, but I'm a reader that will say, yes, build in the new world, cultivate the new world. And even saying build, architecture is beautiful, but I think of like Alan Watts talking about, the Western child will say, how was I made? Because that's, the belief systems that they're raised into. But the Eastern child will ask, how was I grown? And so maybe it is moving into a more organic, conceptual way of being. And again, cultivating seeds, disciplining yourself to nurture and nourish new timelines. I just feel like I need to pull this card. Wow. And it's 4 of Cups. And so it's like not settling for something that isn't quite fulfilling. The cards really want to talk today. And it really is something like that. It's so funny. All these personal stories are wanting to come up, but I don't mean to make it that way. But they're really good metaphors about not settling for something, using the example of like, say you're a musician and you want to be in a band, and if somebody offers to start a band with you, but you already know that they aren't the caliber of musician that you want to be in a band with, you can go forward to it because you probably have a lot to learn. But if you already know from the beginning, this isn't the type of music I want to make, or this isn't the caliber of musician that I really want to be in a band with, it's okay to acknowledge and say, I just don't feel like this is right for me. Same with anything, don't take a job just because you feel like you're in a desperate situation if you know it's not something that you want to commit to long term. Or on the other hand, go ahead and take the job, but acknowledge to yourself, this isn't going to be something I'm going to want to commit to long term. And it's same with any kind of thing, if somebody asks you on a date, but you're not really feeling it about them, you don't have to say yes just to be a nice person. So it's like over and over again, don't compromise your deeper truth if you're feeling compelled to go towards something bigger, but you're afraid of failure, or you're afraid of facing your worthiness issues. And so it really feels like maybe you've been in a stuck place while you've been dealing with a lot of outside indoctrinated beliefs. And this devil, that's what it feels like a lot of that is so much of the indoctrination defines success according to what others want for you to be a pawn in their game. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to settle for that. Even if being that pawn in their own game means your parents, it's like, societal beliefs are a cult. I never know what's going to come out in a reading, but societal beliefs are a cult, the structure of school and getting straight A's and all of that, it's all made up. And there's a lot of good to it. But when we allow these things to define our worth and our worthiness, and then we don't fit into that, if you're dyslexic, then maybe you've been challenged in finding success according to those structures, and that's just one tiny example of what could be different about you. If you're neurodivergent in any way, then these structures just don't really apply. And, if you're creative and you feel compelled to go deep into that creativity, but you have loved ones in your life who just don't understand, and they're part of the cult of you need to fit yourself into these boxes and labels. You don't have to live according to the cult, no matter how deeply entrenched the people you love are into it. So this next row of cards, they all landed on their side. So they're all kind of challenge cards. And then so some landed, reverse to each other. So we can look at them as challenges, but none of these are ultimately defining one or the other, because they're all challenging in their own way, and then they challenge each other. And I want to say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. 2 of them are not major arcanas. And it's interesting that the 2 that are not major arcanas are kind of the bookend of them, of the rest, which are all major arcanas. So on this end, we've got the Queen of Swords reversed. And on this end, we've got the Page of Cups reversed. So I kind of just want to talk about those 2 energies. Queen of Swords reversed is about not speaking your truth. And sometimes it can be a very manipulative energy. So usually, we can apply the energies either way. Usually if I see it as manipulative, I don't want to call whoever I'm reading for manipulative. Although if the shoe fits, it's okay to be honest with yourself and say, wow, I really was manipulating a person or a situation. But usually I see it as somebody outside of you who maybe tries to manipulate your beliefs, maybe even guilt tripping, or although that's usually more of a Queen of Cups reverse kind of thing. But just trying to make you do or believe what they want you to do or believe, attacking your beliefs. So say you're an artist and you've decided that you're going to completely invest yourself in your art, and they say, no, I'm paying for your college, and so you need to do what I said, and you're going to be a doctor or something like that. And maybe that's just not your passion. Maybe that was their passion. That's if you're a very young person, but it could be anybody. Our mothers can still be manipulative, or anybody in your life. But it can also be not speaking your truth, because Swords energy is about communication. It's the words we speak, the thoughts we think, the beliefs we operate our lives on, the messages we give, the messages we receive, and ultimately the truths we operate our lives on. And so this could be gaslighting yourself, manipulating yourself, and say you have this passionate belief that you want to go towards something, but then this Queen of Swords energy could come in and say, yeah, but you're not going to be successful in that, because that's been a deeply ingrained belief. So next to this Queen of Swords reversed is the High Priestess reversed. So it kind of feels like you could be receiving a lot of divine inspiration, a lot of divine guidance. You could even be receiving channeled messages, whether you're psychic or not. We're all psychic, by the way. You could be receiving visions even. Your soul could be speaking to you about the direction you want to move in, or even giving you information about people in your life that are holding you back or that are manipulating you. But with these 2 being reversed, this would be very much like gaslighting yourself or shutting yourself down. And again, whether it's about a person, like your intuition could be saying this person is, leading me in a direction that isn't true for me, or any number of things. Or I have this belief that I have to stay in my corporate job, and your higher self might be saying, this is not my truth at all. But this Queen of Swords reversed is saying, no, don't listen to that. That's not what we believe. We have to, you know what I mean? So I think I've probably said that enough. So before I go to the next card, which, like I said, all these next are major arcanas till you get to this Page of Cups reversed. So upright, you see that this is a kid standing at an easel, and they're very much being messy with their art, but they're being creative. They're in that process of creativity. It doesn't matter what they're painting. It just matters that they're painting. They're allowing their creative self to flow. And so Cups energy, it's about your emotions. It is about psychic abilities. It's about what lies beneath the surface and bringing that creativity to the canvas. What would be fulfilling for me, Cups energy? What would be fulfilling? What would make my heart full? And with that being reversed, again, it's like bringing this energy, submerging, and then here we've got that Four of Cups upright. It's not about what I want. It's about, trying to fill other people's cups, trying to make other people happy. Oh no, they're not, this father is distressed, and so the kid feeling like they have to solve it, and not feeling important themselves, that the problems are bigger than the moment. And behind them is this ocean. They could go frolic and play for a minute and maybe get a whole different perspective if they would go cleanse away their worries in the ocean for a minute. But sometimes the worries and the struggles, they get all the attention, and then it just gets bigger. Now I'm talking, I wanted to say Esther Hicks, but I started to say Louise Hay. But all of these wonderful teachers about what you emphasize, what gets your focus. What do they say? Where your attention goes is where the energy grows, or something like that. So with that being reversed, it just, again, it feels like paying attention to, are you putting more attention into what is not fulfilling, into and giving more attention to draining yourself into the worries? And it just kind of feels like all the while you might be receiving the answers, but you're shutting it down. And so I feel like these cards want to be upright, where you're giving greater voice to the inspiration or the divine guidance that you're receiving. So next to those cards, then comes the Wheel of Fortune. And in this, it feels like it's more upright. Again, none of them are necessarily upright or reversed, but the way they laid out, this Wheel of Fortune is more upright. I want to kind of say the next three cards: the Wheel of Fortune upright, the Fool reversed, and the Judgment or the Justice card upright. So these two being upright and this one being reversed, I kind of got the feeling that there is this new timeline that's waiting for you, but there are some things that need to be reconciled, and a decisiveness needs to happen before this new start will come. So in some ways, again, it feels like there's this surrender. But it's a back and forth kind of a thing, where it kind of feels like you've been needing things to start moving in your favor in order for you to start looking at this new beginning, and you bring a greater balance to your life. And here's this Justice card, but then over here we've got this Two of Pentacles reversed, which is about being imbalanced. So isn't it interesting with that Devil card? This Devil is what's stopping you. And so it kind of feels like you need to make a decision, but then in some ways, with all this destiny at play, I always want to say you always have a choice. You always have a choice, but at the same time, it kind of looks like you're at a place where, say you make the decision to stay in the corporate job, or you make the decision to stay in the toxic relationship, or anything like that. It kind of looks like life is kind of nudging you and saying, okay, but nothing's going to change. Excuse me, like nothing's really going to change. Are you sure this is what you want? Are you sure this is what you want? And, and even in my case, I feel like I have to come back to staying at the hippie shop. Right now, it's like, are you sure this is what you want? Do you really want to go back to full time here? because it's just not going to work out. This isn't where you're meant to be anymore. And so it's almost like you're clinging to old timelines, and it's just kind of like sand through the fingers, you know, it's kind of slipping away even if you do try to cling to it. And so it kind of feels like the universe is being more patient with you while you adjust to the new decision. So in some ways, again, I don't like to be a fortune teller. I'm always like, you're a choice, you're a choice. But in some ways, it feels like your higher self also makes big decisions for yourself. And so it kind of conveys the energy that there is a new timeline that's waiting for you. And it's kind of like there's this, like, it's almost like a Mexican standoff. Who's going to shoot first? I don't know if that's exactly the right imagery, but it's like, who's going to shoot first? And it's like you're waiting for the universe to show you, or you're waiting for things to come right. But the universe is like, no, there's something inside of you, an adjustment that you need to make where you decide to commit to your true path. And it almost feels that way, that like the universe is waiting to move in your moving in your favor, move on your behalf. I was trying to say favor and behalf, and it was coming out as behavior, but maybe that's a Freudian slip where that maybe there is something about your behavior that needs to change. And part of this could be about turning these upright and having this high priestess upright with the Queen of Swords upright, and saying to yourself, I'm a decisive person and I'm ready to commit to the new path. I'm ready to commit to what feels like my true soul aligned purpose. I'm ready to commit to the truth of who I truly am. I've been through enough darkness. I've faced my shadows enough that I'm not even the same person. So there's no way I could step back onto an old timeline, because things aren't going to turn out for me the way they used to, because it's not who I am anymore. And it's just no longer relevant. It is time to step onto the new path. So again, you know, emerging with it's time to bring your message to the world. I think there is a great truth in that. And so being in this stuck energy, I think there's something about reconciling in yourself that you're more powerful than you used to believe. And you can't unsee what you've already seen about yourself. There is no going backwards. And it's funny now, for some reason, it's bringing my guitar player into mind. In this last year, we've stepped into new versions of ourselves, and he has unlocked so much of his freaking amazing, phenomenal musical power and his talent that he can't play small anymore. He's too talented, and he's witnessed his talent to such a degree that he has to step into this power now. He has to step into this. He's witnessed too much of his talent to pretend he's not that anymore. And so whatever, you know, applies to you in that way, but it really feels like the more you accept your power, that's when things are really going to start moving in your favor. The timelines start moving on. And so this justice, things come into balance with this. It's like now you're recognizing there's a new talent, there's a new timeline waiting for you. And it does kind of feel like now the universe is going to start showing you what can be yours and the way justice can be served. And so maybe if you've got multiple stories of, you know, things haven't really worked out for me in the past, and so maybe you've got some sort of trauma around going for your desires, and it feels very much connected to Pluto in Aquarius and all of these personal planets, the Sun, Venus, Mars, and Mercury, as they move across Pluto at the end of January. I think you're really going to be stepping into things, and this Full card is going to turn right side up. And I think right now the universe is starting to give you evidence that you really can have it all. You know, there will always be challenges. That's how we evolve. Life holds challenges. But I really do get this feeling that, you know, and then at the end of January, Neptune moves into Aries. Huge major shifts. And then mid-February, Saturn moves into Aries, and then they come exactly conjunct on the 20th of February. So between now and, I keep saying between now and the spring equinox, things are really going to move rapidly. And by the time we arrive at spring equinox, you're going to be on that new path. So I feel like, man, this was a much bigger reading than I was expecting, but I just really feel like telling you to go for it. And for now, clarify your message and follow your passions and believe in yourself. And the more you clarify your message, and don't say it to the people, don't try to convince the people that are locked into the cult beliefs. Say it to say it to yourself first and foremost. Say it to the person in the mirror. And then start sharing it with people who maybe are also at a similar space in their life where maybe the new timeline hasn't started to flourish yet, but maybe they've had the courage to start planting, cultivating seeds, and maybe you're starting to see those seeds begin to sprout. So, like I said, way more than I expected to come out, but what a reading. So get out there, clarify your message, and if you want to share where you're at with all of this, I'd love to hear where everybody else is at. All right, once again, my name is Fairlight. If you would like a reading from me, that link will be somewhere either in the bio or in the show notes. So, all right, look forward to talking with you. Peace and love. Until next time.